So, Doof, tell us about your backstory. What made you the way that you are?
Well, it all began on the day of my actual birth. Both of my parents failed to show up. At a young age, I failed to do the traditional Drusustinian rite of passage, jumping off a high dive. Everyone was watching and I got stage fright.
Das Kind ist ein Schnitzel. Ich habe keinen Sohn.
After that, my father and I grew increasingly distant.
Zu nah!
At one point, my parents disowned me, and I ended up being raised by ocelots for a while. While I was being raised by ocelots, I frequently smelled of pork. One day, the carnival came to town. I needed money, so I got the job at the dunking booth as the ball. Eventually, I got a balloon. I drew a face on him, sprayed him with lifelong lasting spray, and named him Balloony. Balloony was my best friend. Eventually, my parents took me back in, but those were hard times, and our lawn gnome was repossessed. My father decided that I must be our new lawn gnome.
Bewegen Sie nicht!
While the other kids were playing kick the Stumperl and eating Dunkelberries, I stood in the yard
Bewegen Sie nicht!
all through the cold night as the Spitzenhound howled. My only companion was the moon, and my neighbor Kenny.
Bewegen Sie nicht!
Not so Balloony. But one night, Balloony flew away. I tried to catch him, but...
Bewegen Sie nicht!
And I never saw Balloony again. Well, I did, but that's a whole other story. Anyway, later on, my father won a Spitzenhound in the game of Poke the Goosum with a stick. He said it was like the son he never had, and named it Only Son. Only Son went on to become an award-winning show dog, bring my family fame and fortune. Yet I was still forced to be the lawn gnome.
Bewegen Sie nicht!
Later on, my parents were expecting a baby girl. My mother knitted many, many pretty dresses for her. Unfortunately, the baby turned out to be a boy, my brother Roger, and my mother was out of material, so they gave Roger my clothes and forced me to wear the dresses, drawing mockery from my manly classmates. Even later on, I was walking through the claw machines district and noticed that instead of rocks, one machine had a teddy bear in it. Luckily, I had my allowance, which I'd been saving for an entire year, a 3-cent coin. I put it in and won the teddy bear first try. Proudly, I brought it home and gave it to my mother, who immediately turned around and gave it to Roger, who pulled out a marker and wrote his name on the bear, claiming it as his own. And then he did the same to my mother, and basically excluding me from the family. I had only one more chance to be recognized as an official part of the family, but I failed at it. You see...
My mother's love was always inexplicably linked to kickball, and my brother was an expert from the start. But I lacked finesse, so when put to the test, I couldn't kick my way right into her heart.
Wow. I had no idea that I had that big of an effect on Heinz. I mean, come on. It's not my fault that our mother's love is always inexplicably linked to kickball. Anyway, Doof, despite being a scientist, you notoriously hate science fairs. Can you explain why?
Yes, I can. You see, when I was 6 years old, I entered a science fair with my very first Innator. I was pretty bad with names then. It was just named Innator. I was about to show it to the judges when a kid with a baking soda volcano stole the show. The next year, I tried again with my even bigger Innator, and again I somehow lost to a baking soda volcano. I'd had enough of science. I decided to devote my life to poetry instead.
The movies are gray. The TV is black. The horses are running. Please bring me some food.
And yet still I lost to a baking soda volcano.
What the fuck?
So, what we have here is a classic case of childhood trauma. It's not uncommon for one in a situation such as the one Heinz was in during childhood to turn to a life of crime. A large issue, especially in Drusseltinian territories, is the no-show at birth. It's a large issue which often results in TikTokers or evil scientists. The traditional high dive rite of passage often ends up tragically for those who don't dive. Disownment, or being called a schnitzel is not uncommon. Neither is becoming a lawn gnome. For Heinz to have to go through both is unusual, and it's amazing he ended up becoming a heroic figure. I'm his therapist. I meet with him 1 day a week, and the other 6 days, I'm in therapy. I'm amazed that Mr. the Platypus doesn't need a therapist after hearing Heinz's backstories every single day.
So far, you've been telling us about your childhood. Is there anything from your teenhood / adulthood that you'd feel like you should mention?
Oh yeah, we're barely halfway done.
We've been here for 2 hours.
Exactly. Anyway, the first thing I should mention is one of the last things I did in Gimmelstump.
You see, I wanted to try painting, but I couldn't find my muse.
One day, inspiration struck me. I painted for 3 days straight and finally finished it. I was so proud that I ran to get Roger, who was eating his favorite lunch, which was very messy, and,
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, he ruins everything, Roger. Anyway, next I should explain how I ended up leaving Jerusalem.
You see, my parents sent me to the store to get some Dusenplatt.
I always had trouble distinguishing between a store and a painting of one. Anyway, I was on the adventure of a lifetime. I was heading to a golden land of opportunity, a land with a pioneering spirit which welcomed misfits like me. But I ended up in America instead.
Oh god, that's gonna piss off the entire country. Good job, Heinz. Now we have to go on the run.
Hey, don't worry. I have a chicken replacinator. Anyway, one of the worst experiences of my life was in high school. I made this viral video with my friends. I am a superstar! We don't talk about that video. Anyway, back before I was evil, I was a little less than evil. I was a bratwurst street vendor.
Doofenshmirtz quality bratwurst.
I was sure it was only a matter of time before the public realized the superiority of bratwurst compared to hot dogs.
How do you know when you're really lame? When you sell bratwurst?
I'm sorry, is that all?
Well, I mean, yeah, that was my first job. It's important. Also, I once went on a date which failed because I caused a blackout, but it wasn't a total loss. Watch.
Makes me want to be a pop star.
Yeah, right. And I'm going to rule the world.
Well, why not?
Yeah, like I can do that.
Maybe instead of, the whole world, start small with the tri-state area.
Anyway, eventually I met and married Charlene. We had a child, Vanessa. I never had big birthday parties as a boy, so I've always strove to give Vanessa the perfect parties every year. Anyway, I ended up getting strapped to a rocket when she turned 16. That was painful.
Curse you, Mary the Blood!
Wait, is that love handle?
Anyways, eventually Charlene and I divorced because she said she hated Mr. Tomato.
Who?
Mr. Tomato, my puppet.
Okay.
Anyway, after Charlene and I divorced, I went shopping for a home and I ended up finding my classic Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated building and bought me the penthouse and I lived there ever since. Anyway, after my divorce with Charlene, my love life has been even more complicated. A perfect example is I once had a girlfriend who had an unhealthy obsession with whales, and I built a whale translator-inator so we could talk to them and,
The translator-inator on?
What a loser that guy up there is. She should dump that pink chimp and go out with a real mammal like me.
She left me for that trash-talking 35-ton pile of blubber and broke my fragile 10-ounce, utterly too human heart.
Okay. Let's move on.
Okay. The next big thing in my character arc, I remember it clearly. It was the happiest day of my life. It was the day I decided to get my picture taken. But it wasn't until I got outside the photo shop that my life changed forever. I had the feeling that there was someone hiding behind the mailbox. I had a nemesis!
No, we don't have time for your emotional song. Move on.
Fine. Over the summer, I had many schemes, all of which were foiled by Perry the Platypus.
Wait, where are you going? Well, at least I found the key to the... Well, excuse me. I'm okay. It's still better than... Hey, you missed my hand. Oh, now not only am I shrunken, but I'm freakishly shrunken. Curse you, Barry the Platypus! Curse you, Barry the Platypus! And then something came from... Curse you, Barry the Platypus! Oh, you clever little platypus! Curse you, Barry the Platypus! Curse you, Barry the... Why did I buy so many mops? I've got you now, Barry the Platypus! Curse you, Barry the Platypus! Me... Ah! What? Oh, what's this? I'm having an allergic reaction to these stupid plants! Thank you, Barry the Platypus! I'm being kind with you! You know, I've had it with you, Perry the Platypus. You never let me have the life... Ah!
Yeah, it was painful.
His constant injuries make it a wonder he's alive. He's been blown up multiple times, crushed by rubble or other large things a few times, ran over by a tinfoil ball twice. He had a fire hydrant lodged in his knee from childhood. And once he idiotically tried to take over the Milo Murphy's Law theme song, which resulted in nothing more than pain for him and more work for us.
Anyway, on the last day of summer, thanks to Vanessa and the threat of the world ending, I ended up becoming a good guy.
Hold on. You just skipped over the entire summer.
Hey, you told me to speed it up. Anyway, after the summer, I became Vanessa's science teacher for a while, although that episode is questionably canon. And then after that, I joined the LWCA for a while. Again, questionably canon.
Despite claiming to be evil, he actually wasn't. No wonder he ended up as only number 3 on the most wanted list. He was dangerous if he used his inventions properly, but I think we can all agree that, 99% of them were less than harmless in his hands.
That's true, sir.
Carl, stop talking from behind the camera. It's weird.
Not in 3 to 7 years. Apparently I'll have a midlife crisis or something, but whatever. Anyway, after the summer, I ended up a good guy. And then there was a fiasco with some creatures called pistachions, and I met Milo, Zach, Melissa, 3 kids, as well as Cavendish and Dakota, a pair of time travelers. They were the people who I worked with to stop the pistachions.
Wait, pistachions? I've never heard of those.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Oh, that's Vanessa's dad. Yeah, we know him. He helped us out a couple times with some aliens, zombies that looked like him, and some pistachio monsters. Yeah, he's a nice guy. Although I feel like I'm forgetting something.
Anyway, Cavendish told me I was destined to invent time travel and become this guy, Professor Time, and Dakota showed me a bag of chips with my face on it, yada yada yada. Long story short, we stopped the pistachios thanks to time travel, but my building was destroyed, so I moved in with Milo and waited to become Professor Time. I tried to do good, but created chaos. Perry the Platypus had to babysit me, which caused us to have a breakup arc. That's Dakota with his new job picking up alien trash while Cavendish went rogue. I created Cavendish for some reason, and then Milo got abducted by aliens, and so all of us went to save him, and thanks to Milo's extremely bad luck, we're stuck here on this alien planet.
He's a good guy, Dr. D. He was a bad guest for a little bit, but eventually he became part of the family. Well, I would say that if we ever got a season 3. Truth be told, Cavendish, Dakota, Zach, Melissa, DOG, Cavenpuss, Agent P, Dr. D, and I have been stuck on this planet for, I want to say somewhere between 3 and 7 years. I don't know, time is weird when the animators can't pick a year and stick to it. He's Professor Time. Or he will be in 5 to 9 years. I'm not sure what year it is anymore, but I'm glad I got to meet him before he became Professor Time.
Cavendish has really idolized Professor Time for his entire life.
Dakota, they did not need to know that.
I mean, I think they would have figured it out anyway.
Whoa, Mr. the Platypus. Language! This is about a kid's show. Keep it PG.
My mother's love was always inexplicably linked to kickball, and my brother was an expert from the start.